Howdy my totally as always Tubular Gamers, and we're back with, you guessed it, a ranking video, and today we're talking about the Just Cause series. So for the uninitiated, Just Cause is a series of action-adventure open-world third-person shooters created and developed by Avalanche Studios. These games, like I mentioned, are all primarily open-world games taking place on these rather large islands, and each game in the series tasks the player to overthrow the governing body of the game setting. Really, it's all about liberating the people, and who better than my man Rico Rodriguez? He's been there since the OG and will continue to be there hopefully in the future. You know, he's not the most exciting, but he's always here to help some people get free from their terrible, shitty government. People love these games for their vast open worlds, with a couple of them being some of the biggest open worlds in any video game, the amount of violence and just chaos going on, and how goofy and campy the story is. Really what these games are known for is just how much mayhem you can cause in these games, whether you're just blowing shit up or you're taking out the police and it's got like a GTA Wanted style and a bunch of the military comes after you, or it's some of the goofy missions that they put you in. People love just creating chaos and destroying everything. The Just Cause series really is one of the most destructive video game series of all time. While not everything can be destroyed like say Red Faction Guerrilla, you can blow up a ton of the map in these games. And so today, we're going to rank them. We're going to give Just Cause 1, 2, 3, 4 all little reviews, rank them worst to best, see how they've aged, see which is the best, you know, what's my favorite, go over some personal memories, some nostalgia. As always, this is my opinion. Let me know down below what your opinion is, or what your list would look like, or why you think I'm wrong. Hopefully this list becomes outdated in the future and we get another Just Cause, but for the moment it's Just Cause 1 through 4. Let's just get right into it. Like, share, comment, sub if you like ranking videos. We're talking about a ton of games here. Let me know down below what you would like to see ranked next. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So of these 4 games, what do I think is the weakest? And so here we have the original Just Cause releasing all the way back in 2006. Now for the original Just Cause, the name actually came from the real-life US invasion of Panama, which was called Operation Just Cause, interestingly enough. And so that's your fun, quirky fact of the video. You're welcome. I expect a tip at the end. Anyway, so the game is about Rico Rodriguez, an operative for an organization known only as the Agency, being dropped off into a Caribbean island nation called San Espiritu to link up with his mentor and Agency superior Tom Sheldon to help him overthrow an evil dictator. And you know, who doesn't like a good uprising? Red Faction had it. It was great in Red Faction, especially in Guerrilla, and it's alright here. It's definitely the weakest of the series when it comes to the story, or the characters, or the voice acting, or the dialogue, or the production values, or really just about anything. This was a somewhat budget title, and I mean, you can definitely tell just by looking at this game or hearing really any of the characters speak that yes, it is a budget title. I mean, the presentation was okay for when it came out, but it hasn't aged all that great, and many games from the same year look significantly better. So it is kind of cool to see though that the original Just Cause really did establish the gameplay loops and the fundamentals of the series going forward, and it is nice to see that the original game is the weakest in the series. That just means all the other games have gotten better and better. And you can certainly tell if you play this game that they really weren't reaching their full potential with this formula, and while the game is still alright, I don't think it's aged particularly well, and I really do think the other Just Causes just kind of really stomp this game into a mud hole. So yes, it is a rather large open world with a lot of third-person shooting and driving. The world was actually really big and was impressive for the time with how big it was. Is it empty? Yeah, for the most part it is, but it is still rather large. And so what will you be doing in this open world? You'll be completing missions. There's a lot of missions in this game. There's a couple hundred side missions and around 20 or so main missions. These missions usually involve you getting into combat with the enemy or blowing something up. What can Rico do? Rico can run, swim, jump. He can use a bunch of different weapons, dual wield some weapons, and even have some basic hand-to-hand combat. He can also control a variety of vehicles, including cars, boats, aircrafts, helicopters, and motorcycles. He also has a parachute attached to him at like all times, and you can pretty much launch it whenever you want to parachute down off something. You can even do these crazy stunts with vehicles to like stand on the roof and jump from car to car like you're Vin Diesel or something. And then you have arguably the most iconic thing from Just Cause, the grappling hook. You actually surprisingly don't start the game with the grappling hook, but you do get it, and it's nowhere near as good as the other games, but you do have the grappling hook. You can grab onto cars and buildings and go from area to area with it, and yeah, it's a lot better in the other games, but it is here. Okay, so that's what Rico can do, but like I said, what are you really doing in this game when you're completing the missions? Most of the time, you're getting into combat. The combat in this game It's really not that good. It is a third-person shooter, and it's a very basic third-person shooter where really it's just like try to shoot them as fast as possible before they drain all of your life. It's super clunky. It's really just kind of janky. It feels very imprecise, slow, tank-like at times. It's not very good. I mean, there's a number of weapons you get, and there's some cool ones you get, but the combat in this game is not one of the strongest suits. But there's plenty of combat, there's plenty of environments where you get into combat, and you know, at least it's versatile. You can get into gunfights pretty much anywhere. The other thing you'll be doing a lot of is driving these vehicles. The driving, it's also not so hot. I mean, it's okay, it's not like the worst driving, but it is also rather clunky, it feels imprecise, and it just doesn't feel great, and some of the vehicles just kind of control like ass. Okay, so with that in mind, the next question's probably, is Just Cause 1 even a good game? Well, you know, it might not be the hottest take, but I will say I don't think Just Cause 1 is a very good game, and it has not particularly aged well. The fundamentals are there, the formula is there, and you can tell that it's trying to break through, but the combat and the driving just aren't very good. The side missions are just so repetitive and bland, and a lot of the main missions are really bland also. Like, the game just isn't very exciting, and the open world feels very empty. You can totally see the potential, especially with hindsight now, but in current year, I don't really recommend anybody play the original Just Cause. I mean, you could do a lot better, and really all the other games have improved on this original game, but it's cool to see where it got started at least. And here we have Just Cause 4, the latest in the Just Cause series until Just Cause 5 comes out. This game came out in 2018, and you know, when it came out, I remember thinking, wow, that looks really similar to Just Cause 3, and a lot of people really weren't so hot on it, and I actually didn't get it when it came out. I wouldn't get it for many years later. I actually didn't even play it until this year, and you know, I can tell I really wasn't missing out on all that much. I'd rather play this game over Just Cause 1, I can say that at least. So the story is about Rico, who arrives in the fictional nation of Solis, and it's about him taking down the Black Hand, the world's biggest private military. I mean, it's not an evil dictatorship, but it's not far off. Now when it comes to the story and the motivations and the characters and the dialogue and all that, I won't lie, it was starting to get pretty tired. I mean, it really isn't any different from the first 3 games, and it feels like they're just retreading old ground, and really I could say the same about this entire game. Especially from a presentation standpoint. You know, I remember when it came out, a lot of people were saying Just Cause 4 looks worse than 3, or it looks exactly the same, and yeah, it really doesn't look any better than 3, and in some areas like the water, it really does look worse. It doesn't look great for 2018, it looks okay, but at least the frame rate was more than fine enough. But when it comes to the gameplay, this game plays nearly identical to Just Cause 3 actually. There's only a few small differences here and there. You know the drill by now, you're dropped into the giant open world, this time Solis, with a bunch of different biomes to explore and missions to do. Rico basically is the same as the third game. He has his awesome grappling hook and he has the wingsuit right from the get-go. One of the new things this game does is it does expand the grappling hook. There are new functions to like attach hot air balloons and rocket boosters on objects. And all of this tries to add some variety to just Rico's arsenal and the missions and some of your objectives. And I mean, it does have some success, it does change things up a little bit, but it's not enough in my opinion. It just feels like a small addition. Outside of that though, the wingsuit's still a blast, the parachute's cool, the grappling hook, you know, it's still just as funny as it was in the second and the third game. The physics are a little better here, there actually is some new wind and particle systems here. And speaking of wind, we have the biggest addition, the biggest selling point of Just Cause 4, the weather system and environmental hazards, like thunderstorms and tornadoes showing up here. These are actually an interesting addition, and I actually like these. These can actually mix up things and make missions play out a little differently. Do I wish they were a lot more prevalent in this game than they are? Yes, but when they do show up, I think they're alright. They're the biggest addition to the game, and really the only good addition to the game. I just wish they showed up more. And besides what I just mentioned, the gameplay's really the same as the second and third game, like nearly the same. Like, you go around this giant open world, there's a bunch of stuff you can blow up and you cause chaos. The Popo can come after you, and there's a bunch of main missions to do where you just take out a bunch of enemies, you get on top of cars and take out enemies, or you're blowing stuff up. The game just doesn't really feel different from Just Cause 2 or 3. In fact, a lot of the missions are like almost exactly the same. In fact, it's really been the same since the first game, but like the second and third game had some decent improvements. Here, it really feels like it's like almost exactly the same, and I wouldn't say these missions are as memorable or fun as the previous two games. Like the plot, it feels like they're just retreading old ground here and sticking to their laurels, and you know, if you like the previous two games, you'll probably like this one, but I don't know, by this point, I just felt kind of tired with this formula. Like, I played a lot of Just Cause 2 and 3, I seen a lot of this formula, and I just wanted something new and different, and this game does not have that. Sure, there's the new weather effects, there's some new vehicles, there's some new weapons, there's some new grappling hook attachments, but the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is the same as the previous two games, and I just don't really think it's done as well here. They could have totally improved like the controls or the driving or something here. It really just feels like the same, if not a little worse. I thought the game got way more repetitive, way faster than the previous two games. I didn't really feel any incentive to do the side missions, and the game just started to kind of feel like a chore to finish by the end of it. The game just kind of dragged. I didn't think the open world was anywhere near as interesting or well developed as the previous two games, and I was like, I'm feeling deja vu here, and I'm just really not having a great time with this game. Like I said, I'd rather play this game over the first one. It is better than the first one, but this game just kind of feels like an expansion to the third game, a really big one. And the third one had actually a decent expansion to it also, and so if you really, really love the second and the third one, and you just want more of that, like exactly the same, you might like this game, but everyone else, you could do better. And so here we have Just Cause 2 releasing in 2010. Now, Just Cause 2 is really when the series kind of took off and got some traction and some attention. And you know, I can recall all the way back to 2010 playing on the playground talking about Just Cause 2 with how big the open world was or how you could blow everything up, and all these years later I think Just Cause 2 has actually aged pretty well. The story sees our man Rico, an operative working for the agency who arrives at this fictional island nation in Southeast Asia to overthrow an evil dictator. I mean, yeah, the plot isn't exactly the most original, it's basically the same as the first game, but it gets the job done at setting up the gameplay. Look, the cutscenes, really the dialogue, the voice acting, and the story are nothing amazing, but they are fine for what it is.
My name is Bolo Santosi. I am the leader of the revolutionary army known as the Reapers.
But you're not going to see it winning any awards. The gameplay, though, is where people really like Just Cause. Just Cause 2 really looks at the original game and realizes its full potential that it actually had. The game drops you into this massive, and I truly mean massive, open world. It was one of the biggest open worlds in any video game when it came out, and it's impressive nowadays with how big it is. Is it the most alive? No, it is a bit empty, but it still is impressive. The core gameplay sees Rico going up against hostiles, whether it's in the main missions, the side missions, or you're just kind of driving, flying around, and blowing stuff up. You're always going up against somebody. Rico has everything from the first game, but he starts with the grappling hook, and it's way better than the first game. It's way more fun to use, it's way more satisfying, and you can do more with it, like you can tether objects to each other and slingshot into the air with a parachute. It's great. This is really where Just Cause began to feel like a dumb Hollywood action movie and started just going nuts, and it's a blast. It is super fun to grapple onto stuff and then just fly into the air with the parachute and blow up stuff from way up there. And blow up stuff you will. There's a bunch of stuff all over the map that needs to be blown up. It makes it very clear what needs to be blown up, and you have a variety of weapons to blow everything up, but one of the main side collectibles objectives here is really just blowing as much shit up as you possibly can. There really is so much to blow up in this game. Like, with how massive the map is, it would take you well over probably 20 or 30 hours to blow everything up, and that's without the side objectives or the main missions. The side objectives, really, they're not the most original, you're just blowing stuff up. The main objectives is where things actually get a little more varied than just blow everything up. You'll get into a lot of gunfights, and you'll have to defend areas, you'll have to take out vehicles, sometimes you'll end up on top of the vehicles, grappling the vehicles, just blowing up vehicles. There's a lot of vehicle stuff here. And so the next question is, how is the combat in this game? It is quite a bit better than the first game. The gunplay itself, it's still a little clunky, it's not the most accurate, and you usually have to lock onto targets hoping you just kind of hit it, but it certainly could be a hell of a lot worse. With the game's new physics and just how many more weapons you have and the grappling hook, it makes the combat a bit more interesting, and you can get a lot more creative with it, and you can just create a bunch of funny scenarios and just funny shit going on with the game's physics and blowing stuff up. I remember seeing tons of clips back in the day of people doing crazy stuff in Just Cause 2, and I thought it was funny then, and it's funny nowadays. It is kind of janky and the physics are kind of all over the place, but it really adds to the charm, honestly. It makes it just a little bit better. It helps it feel less generic, I can certainly say that. The combat, it's fine, it's serviceable. The driving is also a little better than the first game, but it's by no means amazing. It's okay, but at the very least you won't find yourself driving anywhere near as much as the first game because grappling and parachuting, it's just so much fun. That's the real shit here, is doing that, and that at least controls great. The controls are fine for what they are. An improvement on the first game, a bit clunky, takes some time to get used to for sure, but nothing you can't really handle. I think the gameplay loop of Just Cause 2 is good. It's really just a dumb, fun experience. It really does capture that Hollywood action movie experience where you're just blowing everything up, you're doing these crazy missions, these fun set pieces, and it's just a good time. Is it the most thought-provoking? Is it all that challenging or engaging all the time? No, it's really not, and a lot of the times it's really mindless and you can just kind of turn your brain off and blow everything up, but at least the game isn't trying to be something else. It knows exactly what it is, and it just puts you in the scenarios that you want to be in, where you're in the thick of the action and everybody's shooting at you and you're just trying to destroy everything, take everyone out, and it's just a blast. It really is just a blast. And if you haven't played Just Cause 2 at this point and you like action games, open world games, third-person shooters, I think it's worth playing. But before we're done talking about Just Cause 2, I am going to give a shout out to the multiplayer, which eventually became a Steam mod. The multiplayer back many years ago was so fun for this game. I know there's probably nobody playing it nowadays, but if you remember the Just Cause 2 multiplayer, then you'll know how crazy that shit got with like 1,000 players on a server. It was amazing. I love the Just Cause 2 multiplayer. There's really never been anything like it since, so I'm just giving a shout out there. But the base game of Just Cause 2, it's a great time and I have no problem recommending it. And so here we have Just Cause 3 releasing in 2015. Now when this game came out, I was really excited, got it day one, was like, yes, I love Just Cause 2, here we go, let's get it. And Just Cause 3 did not disappoint. What a great experience, and in my opinion, the best of the Just Cause games. So the game takes place 6 years after Just Cause 2 and sees Rico returning to his homeland, a fictional Mediterranean island country under the control of a dictator. And so you know what you gotta do, take out the dictator, free the people, you know how it goes. The story, I mean, it's fine, it doesn't really matter that it's Rico's homeland, it doesn't really change much. The story's basically exactly how you would expect it would go, and it's fine for what it is. It's campy, it's goofy, it's kinda stupid. And the story, dialogue, plot, characters, setting, all of that is really what I was expecting from a game like this. And if you were expecting something different, maybe you're not playing the right game. It's fine for what it is. It gets the ball rolling to the gameplay, which is what this game really exceeds at. The gameplay loop is very similar to the second game. You're dropped into a massive open world and are told you need to free the people. So here's a bunch of missions, side missions, and things to blow up. This game does actually have a number of challenges to it as well, though. These new challenges can be like races, blowing something up in a creative way, etc. Rico himself has everything from Just Cause 2. It still feels great to grapple onto stuff and parachute. That's great. That is still great. The gunplay itself is a little improved. It's a little smoother and a little more accurate. It doesn't feel as loose, and I mean it's again serviceable, it's fine, but the biggest addition here is easily the wingsuit. Rico can activate his wingsuit whenever he wants, and I loved the wingsuit. Man, this shit was so cool, especially back then. Like, I remember Far Cry like 3 and 4 had it, but I feel like those games didn't fully utilize it. This game absolutely does. The wingsuit is so much fun in this game, in combination with the grappling hook. Oh, it's such a good time. I've never not had a great time with the wingsuit. It's just really well implemented, it's really fun, and it's a great way to travel. I didn't even end up fast traveling that much in this game, which is massive, by the way. Like, it's as big as Just Cause 2, because the wingsuit was just so much fun to fly around and getting a good speed, going really fast, going up and down. It's just so much fun to use the wingsuit. It reminds me of Spider-Man, actually. The wingsuit is like, it's just one of the best additions to the entire series. It's so much fun. The game does add a few new abilities, like the grappling hook. You're able to grapple more, and there are these mods that you can actually activate. And so it's not a complete retread. Supply drops are also treated differently since there's no in-game currency here. And then on top of all of that, you know, there's some new weapons to destroy stuff with. You can actually use them while parachuting. There's some new vehicles to ride in, and the game feels a bit smoother. The driving, you know, it's still not amazing. And, you know, it's kind of funny because Mad Max, I remember, released the same year, and the driving was good in that game. So I don't know why the driving isn't so great in this game. Developed by the same company, by the way. But it's serviceable, it gets the job done, and then yeah, you're just dropped into this huge open world with a ton of missions, ton of side missions, ton of explosions to make. The chaos system is there. There's a ton of leaderboards. I always really like the implementation of the leaderboards in this game. I think it's fun how it just actively throws people on your friends list or just random people online on here, so that's fun. And all of this comes together to create one of my favorite open world experiences that I've ever had with a game. I remember when I got this game, I was hooked. I was really hooked, and this was the only thing I played for 2 weeks. I did everything in this game. I actually 100%ed this game. I know that sounds crazy, especially with how many games I finished nowadays, but back then, I wasn't playing as many games. I had a lot more free time, didn't have a full-time job or a full-time YouTube career now. And yes, I 100%ed the game. I blew everything up. I did every mission, every challenge, everything. I really just love this game. The DLC, same thing. Love the DLC also. This game really just sunk its teeth right into me, and I got so immersed and I've had a blast. I played well over 50 hours of this game. It was just so much fun, and that memory, maybe that's the reason why Just Cause 3 is at the top for me, but this game just hit different. I really like Just Cause 2, but it didn't hit like Just Cause 3. There was a multiplayer mod for Just Cause 3, but it really wasn't that great. Just Cause 2's was way better. But the actual game, Just Cause 3, oh, for me, it's just so much fun. Yes, they did remove the mini-map, and yes, it is a bit of a retread in terms of its core gameplay loop from the second game, but it didn't really matter to me. I thought it was improved over the second game, and it was just a blast. So much fun. So much fun. If you are looking for a dumb, fun Hollywood action movie experience, I don't think you can do much better than Just Cause 3. I really recommend the game if you've wanted to try the series, or if you like open world games or third-person shooters. It's worth trying. At least try it. Just see how it is. And then you can come back to me and let me know how you feel. But just try it. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you made it to this part of the video, comment cement is in what's on the ground. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. So have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.